Welcome, dear viewers, to a world where darkness and mysticism meet in the creepiest forms. Here, in this abandoned corner of the internet, we will delve into the darkest corners of the human imagination. Prepare for awe-inspiring horror, as each of our stories is imbued with sinister secrets that lurk in the darkness of the night. Scary stories that remain beyond your imagination are waiting for you on our channel. Don't forget to turn on the lights, get comfortable and hold on tight, because now we are going into the world of nightmares. Are you ready for it? Then welcome to our scary story. The small village of Willowbrook, nestled in the heart of the dense, foreboding woods, had always been a place where life moved at a slower pace. It was a place where the rustle of leaves and the hoot of an owl at night were the loudest sounds to be heard. The villagers led simple lives, tending to their farms, caring for their livestock, and exchanging pleasantries at the local market. For generations, Willowbrook had remained untouched by the outside world's chaos and turmoil. The dawn broke with a gentle golden hue that bathed the quaint cottages in a warm embrace. The villagers, like clockwork, started their day. Sarah, a middle-aged woman with a perpetual smile, opened her bakery, filling the air with the aroma of freshly baked bread. The children, with their satchels and laughter, made their way to the one-room schoolhouse. And old Mr. Jenkins, the village blacksmith, could be seen hammering away at his anvil. But beneath the facade of tranquility, an unsettling undercurrent had begun to ripple through the village. Whispers of strange occurrences echoed among the villagers. It started with the disappearance of Mrs. Thompson's cat, a plump ginger feline that had roamed the village for years. Then it was old George, the village drunkard, who was last seen wandering into the woods, mumbling about strange shadows. Soon, other villagers began to vanish without a trace. The anxiety among the villagers grew with each passing day, and the sense of safety that Willowbrook had offered for generations was rapidly crumbling. Fear and uncertainty painted the faces of the once cheerful townsfolk, transforming the picturesque village into a place of dread. It was young Emma, with her fiery red hair and insatiable curiosity, who couldn't resist the allure of solving the mystery. She decided to investigate the disappearance of Mrs. Thompson's cat, her first clue in unraveling the eerie happenings. Armed with a small flashlight and a determination that belied her age, she ventured into the woods that bordered the village. As she ventured deeper into the forest, the daylight waned, and shadows danced menacingly among the gnarled trees. The silence was deafening, save for the occasional rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, but she pressed on, guided by a flicker of bravery. It was when she reached a small clearing that she first encountered the source of her nightmares. The moon's feeble light cast eerie, elongated shadows across the forest floor, and in the center of the clearing stood a figure, tall and grotesque. Its form seemed to shift and contort, blending with the darkness around it. Emma's breath hitched in her throat as her flashlight fell upon the creature's face. Or rather, the absence of one. Its head was a shapeless void, a swirling vortex of darkness that seemed to devour the very essence of the night. The creature emitted a low, guttural growl, and Emma stumbled backward, her flashlight dropping from her trembling hand. Terror seized her, and she turned to flee, her heart racing faster than ever before. The creature pursued, its footsteps like the ominous drumbeat of doom. Emma's footsteps seemed to echo through the woods, a haunting symphony of fear. She dared not look back, but she could feel its presence closing in, its malevolence palpable. Just as Emma felt the creature's cold breath on her neck, a blinding light erupted from the direction of the village. Shouts and cries pierced the night, and the creature recoiled, retreating into the depths of the forest. Emma tumbled into the safety of the village, gasping for breath and trembling uncontrollably. The villagers had rallied, their torches casting long shadows on the ground. They had heard her cries and rushed to her aid, their faces a mix of concern and determination. As they listened to Emma's harrowing tale, a heavy silence settled over the villagers. The reality of their situation had taken a monstrous form. The creature in the woods was no longer a mere legend, but a nightmarish reality. Fear had become their constant companion, and the idyllic life they once knew was shattered. In the heart of Willowbrook, beneath the moon's watchful eye, the villagers stood united against the darkness that threatened to engulf their once tranquil lives. Little did they know that their journey into the unknown had only just begun, and the true horrors of the night were yet to be revealed. The arrival of Sheriff Anderson in Willowbrook brought a temporary sense of relief to the villagers. With his imposing presence and unwavering resolve, he exuded an air of authority that promised order in the face of chaos. The townsfolk gathered in the village square, their faces etched with anxiety and anticipation. Sheriff Anderson, a tall man with a stern countenance and piercing eyes, addressed the crowd. "Folks, I've been informed of the unsettling events here, and I assure you, we will get to the bottom of this. Evil may lurk in the shadows, but we'll shine a light on it. Now, I'm appointing a team to investigate these disappearances. Deputy Jenkins, you'll lead the effort." Deputy Jenkins, a burly man with a gruff demeanor but a heart of gold, stepped forward, nodding solemnly. "You can count on us, Sheriff." The investigation began in earnest. The team fanned out across the village, questioning residents and piecing together the puzzle of the disappearances. Fear had cast a pall over Willowbrook, and the villagers whispered about the horrors they imagined lurked in the woods. Deputy Jenkins, joined by Officer Rodriguez, began their inquiries at the home of Mrs. Thompson, the owner of the missing ginger cat, and the first victim to report an unexplained occurrence. She recounted how her cat had vanished without a trace one moonless night, and how she had heard eerie, disembodied cries coming from the forest. As the investigation continued, unsettling evidence began to surface. Deep in the woods, they discovered a collection of torn and bloody clothing, as if they had been violently ripped from their owners. A closer examination revealed bite marks and clawed fabric, confirming the brutality of the attacks. Officer Rodriguez, a meticulous and methodical investigator, collected samples and took photographs, preserving the gruesome evidence for further analysis. But the most disturbing discovery was the trail of bloody footprints leading away from the shredded clothing, as if the attacker had dragged the victim into the heart of the forest. The news of these horrifying findings spread like wildfire throughout the village, igniting fresh panic. Willowbrook was a community bound by generations of trust, but now a pervasive sense of paranoia crept into the hearts of its inhabitants. Doors were bolted shut, windows were barricaded, and the once friendly neighbors now regarded each other with suspicion. Despite the terror that gripped the village, Deputy Jenkins and Officer Rodriguez pressed on, determined to bring an end to the reign of fear. They gathered the villagers for a town hall meeting, urging them to share any information or suspicions they might have. As the night deepened, stories emerged, each more chilling than the last. Old George, the drunkard who had vanished into the woods, had been heard muttering about the Faceless One before his disappearance. And Emma, the brave young girl who had narrowly escaped the creature, described the feeling of an insatiable void where the creature's face should have been. The room fell into a heavy silence as the villagers realized the chilling consistency in the descriptions of the creature. It was a grotesque monstrosity with an ever-shifting, featureless face, a nightmare made flesh. Days turned into nights, and the disappearances continued. The sense of impending doom weighed heavily on Willowbrook, and even the most courageous villagers hesitated to venture outside after dark. The forest, once a symbol of tranquility, had become a realm of terror, its trees whispering malevolent secrets to those who dared listen. As the moon hung low in the night sky, casting long shadows upon Willowbrook, Sheriff Anderson knew that time was running out. The creature's appetite for destruction showed no sign of abating, and the villagers' trust in their protectors waned with each new victim. The battle between light and darkness had begun, and the village's fate hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of an abyss from which there might be no return. The moon hung high in the midnight sky, casting an eerie pallor over the dense forest that surrounded Willowbrook. Deputy Jenkins, Officer Rodriguez, and a handful of brave volunteers had gathered at the edge of the woods, their faces etched with determination and trepidation. Torches in hand, they prepared to confront the nightmare that had terrorized their village. Sheriff Anderson's voice was firm as he addressed the group. "Listen up, everyone. We've got one goal tonight: to put an end to this horror that's been haunting us. We've set traps along the paths where the creature has been spotted. When it arrives, we'll light it up and do whatever it takes to subdue it." The villagers exchanged nervous glances but nodded in agreement. They had reached a point where they could no longer cower in fear, and action was the only option left. The group moved silently through the darkened forest, their torches casting long, wavering shadows. The night was still, and an oppressive silence hung in the air. The very trees seemed to hold their breath, aware of the impending confrontation. Hours passed, and just when it seemed like the creature might elude them once more, a chilling howl pierced the night. It was a sound unlike anything they had heard before, a guttural, otherworldly cry that sent shivers down their spines. The creature was near. The group positioned themselves behind trees and bushes, their hearts pounding in their chests. Their breaths came out in shallow, anxious puffs as they waited for the creature to step into their trap. And then it happened. A dark, shifting figure emerged from the shadows, its form almost shapeless, as if it were a living shadow itself. Its face remained a void, a swirling abyss of darkness. The creature moved silently, its steps barely making a sound as it approached the concealed trap. With a collective intake of breath, the villagers ignited the traps. Bright flames burst to life, illuminating the night with an infernal glow. The creature screeched, its inhuman cry echoing through the forest, but it was trapped. Ropes and nets descended, ensnaring it in a desperate bid to contain its monstrous form. Chaos erupted as the villagers rushed forward, armed with improvised weapons, determined to subdue the creature. The forest seemed to come alive, the trees watching with silent anticipation. But the battle that ensued was nothing short of nightmarish. The creature fought with a ferocity that defied reason. It lashed out with clawed hands, its attacks swift and deadly. Several villagers were injured, their cries of pain joining the cacophony of battle. Officer Rodriguez, with a determination fueled by righteous anger, managed to get close enough to the creature to land a blow. His baton connected with the creature's form, and for a brief moment it seemed vulnerable. However, the darkness of the forest itself seemed to rise up in defense of the creature. Shadows swirled around it, obscuring its shape and allowing it to slip free from the ropes and nets that bound it. With a final chilling screech, it vanished into the depths of the forest, leaving the villagers battered and bewildered. The group gathered, their faces etched with frustration and despair. They had come so close, yet the creature had eluded them once again. Sheriff Anderson examined the remnants of the trap, his expression darkening. "This thing is not just a monster. It's something beyond our understanding," he muttered. "We need to find out more about its origins and how to stop it." As the villagers tended to the wounded and retreated to the safety of their homes, a new determination settled over them. They realized that the creature was not merely a product of their worst nightmares. It was something far more sinister and enigmatic. Willowbrook's battle against the darkness was far from over. In the heart of the haunted forest, hidden within the depths of its ancient trees, lay the key to understanding the creature's true nature. But uncovering its origins would lead the villagers down a path fraught with even greater horrors and mysteries, threatening to consume them all in an unending nightmare. In the days that followed the failed attempt to capture the creature, a somber atmosphere settled over Willowbrook. The villagers had regrouped, their determination tempered by the brutal reality of the monster that haunted their woods. Sheriff Anderson and his team had gathered all the evidence they could find, including documents, records, and the stories of the village's oldest residents. One evening, by the dim light of flickering candles, the gathered group of villagers and investigators began to piece together the puzzle of the creature's origins. Yellowed pages of old journals and faded photographs revealed a dark and sinister history. In the early 20th century, a reclusive scientist named Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood had lived on the outskirts of Willowbrook. He was rumored to be obsessed with unlocking the secrets of immortality and had conducted countless experiments in his secluded laboratory deep within the forest. Driven by a twisted curiosity, he had delved into forbidden realms of science, blending dark alchemy with modern medicine. The villagers recalled stories of strange lights emanating from his laboratory, mysterious disappearances, and unnatural howls echoing through the night. Over the years, the legend of Dr. Blackwood had grown into a terrifying myth, but the truth was even more horrifying. The documents revealed that Dr. Blackwood's experiments had indeed yielded a result, but not the one he had hoped for. In his quest for immortality, he had unwittingly unleashed a malevolent force, a creature that defied the laws of nature. The creature, now known as the Faceless One, was an abomination, born of science gone awry and dark magic intertwined. As the villagers pored over the evidence, they realized the extent of the tragedy that had unfolded. Dr. Blackwood's experiments had been driven by a misguided desire for power and eternal life, and the village had paid the price for his arrogance. Sheriff Anderson's voice was heavy with determination as he addressed the gathering. We now understand the true nature of this creature. It is an unholy abomination, a fusion of science and magic, a perversion of life itself. But we cannot let it continue to terrorize our village. The villagers nodded in agreement, their fear transformed into resolve. They knew that they had to confront the Faceless One once more, this time armed with the knowledge of its origins and its unnatural existence. The final battle was set in motion. Armed with improvised weapons and a newfound unity, the villagers and their protectors ventured deep into the haunted forest. They followed a trail of dark magic that led them to the ruins of Dr. Blackwood's laboratory, a place that reeked of malevolence. In the heart of the forest, beneath the twisted branches and the oppressive darkness, they found the creature. The Faceless One emerged from the shadows, its form more grotesque and nightmarish than ever. Its void-like face seemed to pulse with an unholy energy, and it hissed with a hatred that chilled the very air. The battle that followed was a symphony of chaos and desperation. The villagers fought with all their might, their determination unwavering. The creature's attacks were relentless, but this time, the villagers were not alone. Together, they channeled the knowledge they had gained and the strength of their unity. Amidst the fierce struggle, Emma, the young girl who had first encountered the creature, had a revelation. She remembered the words of old George, the drunkard who had muttered about the Faceless One. It wasn't just a description, it was a name. The creature had a name, a connection to a human existence that had been lost. As the battle raged on, Emma shouted the name with all the conviction she could muster. "Nathaniel Blackwood," she cried out. The creature paused, its swirling darkness momentarily stilling. It seemed to recognize the name, as if a fragment of its past had resurfaced. With a final unearthly scream, the Faceless One dissipated into the night, leaving behind only a lingering sense of malevolence. The villagers stood victorious but weary, their faces illuminated by the dawn's first light. They had unraveled the mystery of the Faceless One and defeated the unholy abomination. But they knew that the forest would forever bear the scars of the dark experiments that had given rise to the creature. As they returned to Willowbrook, they were filled with a newfound sense of strength and resilience. The horror of the Faceless One had united them, and they understood that their village's true strength lay in their unwavering bond. Though they would forever bear the scars of their ordeal, they faced the future with a determination to rebuild and ensure that the sins of the past would not haunt them again.